So this is a very special blog. It's not very often I do blog interviews, and we're coming to the end of our 4-week stint, our 4-week trip in New Zealand. And for those that have been following me and my mum, we've been over here in New Zealand seeing the best of the place that I call home. Now this is special for 2 reasons. One, because I don't often get a chance to spend this much time with my mum, but two, this is mum's first trip overseas, first time visiting New Zealand, first time leaving the UK. I've lived here now for about 8 years, and obviously was born in the UK, and for that time I've spent the last 8 years going back doing fleeting visits to friends and family. So over the last 8 years, Mum and I haven't ever really spent this much time together, and it's also great because I've been able to show Mum around the place that I call home, and to show Mum the things that I love most about New Zealand and why I've chosen to live on the other side of the world. And for Mum, first ever trip overseas, first ever time out of the UK, and obviously first time to New Zealand, first time she set foot on a plane. And up until maybe 6 months ago, hadn't ever had a passport. So a lot of firsts, and I think coming to New Zealand, probably the biggest trip you can do and the longest flight there is, being your first try, is a very brave thing to do. So what made you, from going to never going anywhere, never leaving the UK, never having a passport, to this being the first ever trip? How did that all come about?
Well, I thought I knew what I liked and what I didn't like. And what I liked was holidays in the UK, a quiet life, and my local surroundings. Didn't see any need for anything more because I was content. And did think when you moved to New Zealand it would be wonderful to know the people and the places that meant a lot to you, but never thought for a minute that I would leave my husband, who didn't feel able to travel, my son and daughter-in-law and grandchildren for a whole month, and jump on planes and do some startling things for somebody at my time of life. But a little voice, when you kept on asking the final time, a little voice said, why not? So here I am.
And what was it like? Talk me through, what was it like when you'd never been on a plane before, leading up to that, knowing that you were going to do your first flight, go to the other side of the world, not knowing what to expect? What were your thoughts up to that point, leading up to being here?
Well, nothing really bothered me. Once I'd heard that little voice say why not, I decided I would just live in the present and take each thing as it came. So I didn't worry about things, I didn't get anxious. I just thought, well, here it is, let's see what it's like. And I was amazed that the plane journey didn't faze me at all, the long journeys, and just kept thinking, just take each day as it comes and enjoy the moment, which is what I did.
And how has it been being in New Zealand? What's been the high points? What are the things you'll remember most when you go back home?
Well, the high points are finding out things I never knew existed and how wonderful they could be, meeting the people who mean so much to you because you mean so much to us, and now when I'm at home I'll be able to picture vividly the people and the places that you're talking about, and that is really what I want to do. It's brought it all to life.
And what about New Zealand itself? What have been, for people that have never been, what have been the best bits? What are the bits you've loved about here?
Well, there's everything you can imagine from one end of the country to the other, from tropical beaches in Abel Tasman, the miles and miles of the Southern Alps, the wonderful dark skies, seeing the stars, the hot pools on the side of the mountain, looking down on the river, just so many experiences. And finding out that being in a place like New Zealand makes you want to do things you'd never have dreamt of doing, like wild swimming in the waterfalls and going up in a gondola up to the top of a mountain, which I could never have seen myself doing a few months ago.
So if someone had have said to you this time last year, you'll be getting on an aeroplane, coming to the other side of the world, doing all these things, what would you have told them?
dream on.
What would your message be for anybody else that might be sort of settled in what they're doing and thinking about maybe doing something else, but it's all very new and very different and very big? What would be your message to them or to yourself a year ago?
I think one of the things is to have a more open mind. If you think you know exactly what is good for you and what you like, you may be closing a lot of doors on some wonderful experiences. And really, I think you brought out the person in me that I didn't know was there. And I think New Zealand can do that for a lot of people, perhaps. It's just there is so much, and the people, the welcome and the culture and just the whole heritage, as well as scenery and stunning wildlife. And the weather, of course. There's just so much to enjoy if you just open your mind to it and think, well, yes, why not?
And probably easier said than done. I mean, I think for anybody that, for your first flight to have been the longest one possible, there must have been times where you were thinking, God, you know, I'm getting on this aeroplane, I don't know what to expect. And what about those people that sit there and are maybe frozen to the spot? They'd like to do all that stuff and it sounds really great, but what's the difference, do you think, between not getting on the plane and getting on the plane? How do you overcome that fear?
Not thinking about it too much and just doing it.
That's good advice. So for you, now you've done this trip, you've done your first flight, you've got your passport, what's next? And what do you think might have changed as a result of having this trip when you go back home and go back to normal life?
Well, the time away from home has probably given me more time to appreciate the things in my life that I may have taken for granted because they were always there. What next? I have no idea. It depends on just what comes up. But certainly I hope I go home a better, more open-minded person as a result of the wonder of this trip. It's like I've lived the dream that I never would have thought of doing. Well, while I was in Queenstown, you bought me this lovely piece of punamu or jade, and it means, it's a koru, and it means new life, new beginnings in harmony with nature. And it couldn't have been more appropriate. And I'd have loved to have bought myself some jade, but you can't. You have to have it bought by someone special for you.
A gift.
As a gift. So it's a wonderful gift which encapsulates, brings together all the things that have led to and will probably lead on from this trip. And it will be a very important reminder of what can happen if you say, why not?